morning, everybody, and we're ready to start the International GT Open Race Weekend Serious Business. It's the qualifying session for today's race at the Autodromo Monza. And as you can see, we've got absolutely perfect conditions for motor racing. 24-degree air temperature, the track's warmed up to 35 degrees. It is 77% humidity and feels every bit of it, I can assure you. It is really quite warm here indeed. We have got a packed field of GT cars heading onto the track. Do keep in touch with us on social media. You can see all our social media accounts down there at the bottom on Twitter at GT_Open for all the updates throughout this weekend and the rest of the season. As I was saying, we have got a packed field of cars for this race and some interesting new additions to the championship for this weekend at Monza as well, which we will see a bit of in the upcoming 30 minutes of qualifying, which, as I say, will set the order for this afternoon's race. And tackling the chicane, first of all, we have got Lorenzo Barraio. And meanwhile, back in the pits, the Imperiale Racing team's Lamborghini Huracans, they're sending their first set of drivers out. Now, of course, qualifying for the GT cars, we have the nominated first drivers out for this first session. And they will also be the drivers who begin the race later on today. And there we have Daniele Diamato in the RS Racing Ferrari 488. Also joining the track as well, one of many of these glorious Lamborghini Huracans in the championship. That's Riccardo Agostini for Imperiale Racing, coming out of the Rettifilio chicane. The pit lane open, the field starting to fill out already. Like I say, 27 cars in the field this weekend. And first across the line and flashing the lights as he comes down towards the chicane because he's braking on the racing line is Tom Onslow Cole, but I think he is going to get a little bit held up there as he comes through the chicane for the first time. Apologies, that was Alan Hellmeister in another of the Mercedes SLS AMGs, the Drivex School car, but Onslow Cole also out there at the moment. Of course, Onslow Cole, they were winners last time out in the second race at Silverstone. So they've been going well here as well. And we've already got a lot of jockeying for position going on as we come down into the Variante della Roja. That's Riccardo Baptista ahead in the Mercedes and lights ablaze behind him, trying to find a way by. I haven't been able to see which car that is, apologies. But it was Riccardo Baptista being overtaken. And the drivers, kind of as we saw if you joined us for the Euro Formula Open qualifying session a few minutes ago, half trying to jockey to find a bit of clear air so they're not held up in the corners, and half trying to position themselves so they can get a bit of a slipstream on the straights, which counts for more in these big blocky GT cars, some more so than others. But the drivers, I think, mainly concern themselves with finding a little bit of free air. And with such a large field, that can be quite a difficult thing to accomplish as well. Anyway, down into the Parabolica comes Macho Basso. Basso in the Teo Martin run BMW M6, one of three of these M6 cars that we have in the field, all run by the Teo Martin team, and having just taken pole position in the Euro Formula session with Ben Vescal, they're looking to complete a perfect morning by adding a pole position. We ride on board and get a sense of just how fast it is at the end of that huge straight at Monza, braking very, very hard for the first chicane. Really tremendous speeds as you come into that chicane. We're starting to see the first lap times come in now, and now we're riding on board with Bertrand Baguette in the Honda, which is new for this weekend in the GT Open Championship. And there it is, coming out of the Parabolica for the first time in that glorious, sexy black livery. Honda bringing their NSX to the championship for the first time this weekend, and it's run really quite competitively in practice as well. A lot of interest in how well this car performs particularly in the hands of those two top talent drivers from the Honda factory program. Meanwhile, the only Audi in the field, the R8 of the Optimum Motorsport crew, is making its way through the Ascari chicane. Alan Hellmeister has gone to the top of the times in his Mercedes SLS AMG, and we have got a spinner. It is, I think, is that Hellmeister? I think it is, in fact, who's just gyrated down at the Ascari chicane. And sure enough, it is, and done a fair bit of damage to the Mercedes SLS as well, at the front and the back. Now, has he been able to get out of there without any difficulty? That will have obviously put a few drivers off their runs through the middle part of the lap. And Hellmeister also has lost his top time to Riccardo Agostini. Agostini putting his Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan at the top of the times. And Kang Ling now moving up into second place as well in another of the Lamborghini Huracans run by Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. And that is bad news indeed for Alan Hellmeister, having gone quickest and then binned the Mercedes SLS AMG, pulling over at the exit of the Ascari chicane, and looks like he's going to be taking no further part in this session. And we've got a yellow flag at the Parabolica as well. Apologies, that's approaching the Parabolica, so that is probably just for Hellmeister's car. But the pole position changing hands quite quickly at the top of the times now. Toby Sowery has just gone quickest in the Daiko Lazarus Lamborghini Huracan. And just as I say that, Bertrand Baguette puts the Honda NSX on top with a lap of 1 minute 48.088, tenth of a second quicker than Toby Sowery in the Huracan. But that is very encouraging indeed. Great time by the former Formula Renault 3.5 champion Baguette, showing what the Honda NSX can do, but only temporarily, because he has now been displaced at the top by Daniele Diamato in the RS Racing Ferrari 488. So in the opening minutes of this session, we're seeing pole position exchange hands between quite a lot of drivers, and it looks like it could be a particularly competitive session today. We've still got the yellow flag down at turn 10, so it may be the case that we don't see any improvements for a few moments, as drivers obviously can't go too quickly through there, and there is still quite a lot of gravel in the air down at Ascari, so I wonder if somebody else has been off there as well. There are the yellow flags for Hellmeister's car, but obviously on a straight line, there's not a tremendous amount that the drivers can do as far as backing off goes. But we'll see if any of them are still able to improve their times nonetheless. And sure enough, it seems somebody has been off down at the Ascari chicane, and it is one of the Lambos. That looks like Jiatong Liang, who has gone off there with another of the Imperiale Racing cars down at Ascari. And that's going to have made a mess of the paintwork, but hopefully nothing else. Rejoin the track pretty safely. But we have got a red flag, and now I wonder if that is so that Hellmeister's car is able to be recovered. We haven't seen any other incidents on the track at the moment, so I think that is just going to be so they can pull that Mercedes out of the way. There it is on the left-hand side of your screen, and get this session going again so that drivers can improve their lap times once more. So I suspect we're only going to be in for a little bit of a hiatus here. As the red flags come out, though, we've got Daniele Diamato on top ahead of Bertrand Baguette, followed by Tom Onslow-Cole. All three of those have already made their way back into the pits, and they're going to be joined by the rest of the field now. So we're going to have a slight interruption to the action here at Monza. But what a fascinating early time from that Honda NSX. Already up in second position, and as I was saying, it had run fairly competitively in the practice sessions as well. In fact, it was the second quickest car in the pro class earlier on, 0.4 of a second off the current pace setters, the RS Racing Ferrari 488 of Daniele Diamato and Andrea Montemini. The Honda being driven this weekend by Bertrand Baguette and Esteban Guerrieri, who has been going great guns for Honda in the World Touring Car Cup as well. Honda, I think, keen to promote the NSX to potential customers and show how competitive that chassis can be. And early signs are encouraging, but we'll see how the rest of the race weekend goes. We've got another new addition to the grid this race weekend as well. Eddie Cheever III, son of former Formula One driver and Indianapolis 500 winner Eddie Cheever, is on the grid in a Ferrari 488 being run by Luzic Racing, one of their 3 cars in the field, and is joined by Dane Nicholas Nielsen in a Pro-Am lineup. They are currently in 12th position, 5th out of the Pro-Am cars on a 1:49.091. And there is the current pace setters, the D'Amato Andrea Montemini car in the pits. And D'Amato back for a quick chin wag. Trying to listen in on what he's saying, but as he seems to be saying it in Italian, there's little point in that. He appears to be talking about how the car was feeling through the Ascari curves. The pit lane is going to reopen at 11:17, which is just 45 seconds away. So superbly quick work by the Monza marshals to keep this red flag interruption to an absolute minimum while they cleared that car away. We're going to be up and running again in half a minute's time. And there is the confirmation that the pit lane is going to be open again very soon to get the remaining 21 minutes of this session done and find out who is going to start from pole position. And while overtaking can be reasonably straightforward at a track like Monza, with such a large field of cars and with a rolling start down a very, very long straight towards a very tight chicane, I would venture that you wouldn't really want to be anywhere back of the first few rows because getting caught up in a midfield incident when we have such a strong and varied field of cars is always going to be a risk. The green flags are flying and the session is back underway once more, and wasting no time to get back down to business. Out comes Eddie Cheever III in the Ferrari 488, pursued by one of the Lamborghinis. So Cheever looking to improve on his lap time. Round the Curva Grande they go, building up ready towards the start of another lap. Now, who else is joining the action? Not very many drivers so far at the moment. We've only got a couple of drivers, these couple of drivers heading out of the pits for now. The rest perhaps just waiting. Heading out now also Jiatong Liang, who we saw going across the Ascari chicane, has headed out. So has Ricardo Baptista. Alexander West joins the action as well. And Lourenco de Vega in the BMW M6 GT3 run by the Teo Martin team also heading out onto the track. But we're following Fabrizio Crestani at the moment in another of the Lamborghini Huracans. He is the lead driver on the track at the moment, and so he's going to be the first one around to begin a crack at a lap time. Cheever running behind with the green Kermit ears on the side of his Ferrari, so we can help identify that one, and of course the Stars and Stripes on the rear wing end plate. Out of the Parabolica they come, and they'll be hoping that there aren't too many cars heading out of the pit exits just as they come by and try to nail their braking point for the very, very slow Rettifilio chicane. Here it is, and actually locking up very, very briefly at the front there, but still making it into the corner okay, and Cheever negotiates the turns with no problem either. We've got a few more cars heading around to start a lap with them as well. And let's keep an eye on which of the drivers lapping at the moment are able to improve their times. Crestani was slightly quicker through the first sector, so he is improving as well. And he is on the lights because he's got in front of him Marco Basso in the Teo Martin BMW M6 GT3. And there is Baguette again in the Honda, getting ready to start a lap time. Do love that matte black livery with the red wings. Out of the final corner comes Baguette, and let's see what he can do with a flying attempt. Tom Onslow Cole, meanwhile, also improving his lap time in the Mercedes SLS. And Andreas Saravia as well is also quicker through the first sector, apologies. Quickest through the first sector is our current pace setter, Daniele Diamato, in the Ferrari 488, has done a 34.236 through the first sector. What does Bertrand Baguette, currently second fastest, have in comparison? We're about to find out. He comes out of the Rettifilio chicane. Meanwhile, we pick up Diamato heading down towards the Ascari. Crestani has gone third with that first lap, quickest of all in the final sector. Baguette has done a personal best in sector 1, but Diamato is flying at the moment, fastest of all in the first 2 sectors. Is he going to get a clean run through the Parabolica and make it all 3? He's currently fastest by 0.4 of a second, but he could be about to improve even more as Giovanni Venturini goes up into second place, just under 0.3 of a second down. But it's all about Diamato at the moment. What's his run through the Parabolica like? Looks like a nice clean exit, playing it safe with the track limits. We saw one of the Euroformula Open drivers fall foul of that in the previous session, and D'Amato drives towards the line and does improve substantially by about half a second. Not fastest of all in the final sector, but a 1:47.193 puts him on top by a clear 0.762 seconds. That is an enormous amount of time to have in hand around a circuit where we've only really got 6 proper corners. You've got the Rettifilio, which is very, very slow. You've got the Della Roja. You have the 2 Lesmo corners, Ascari, and the Parabolica. And to find all that much time in between them is a terrifically impressive achievement indeed. So D'Amato quickest for the time being. Chiva, meanwhile, sets the fastest first sector time of all on his next lap. Meanwhile, we have a change in second position as Riccardo Agostini goes up into second place in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan. So a good effort by Agostini. That moves Venturini down to third. Tom Onslow Cole has gone fourth in the Mercedes SLS AMG, which pushes Bertrand Baguette in the Honda NSX down to 5th place by just 0.003 of a second, and it's now become 7th place, in fact, as 2 more drivers improved. The drivers are making big gains at the moment, particularly Chiva, up to 3rd place in the Ferrari. That's a fine effort by him. 1:47.769, 0.576 seconds slower than the sister Ferrari 488. Currently leading the times. With Agostini in second place, it's looking good for the Italian hardware at Monza. That puts Crestani 5th. Damiano Fioravanti has slipped down to 7th place as Onslow Cole improves again. Fioravanti in another of the Lamborghini Huracans run by Ombra Racing. D'Amato, after that super quick lap time, has headed towards the pits. We've still got just under half of this session to go as well. Here comes Bertrand Baguette, though. Personal best in the first sector. Not that great a run through the middle sector. Few tenths off, but could be enough to move up from their current 8th place, except it's not going to be because they're heading towards the pits, so they obviously feel they can do quite a bit better with a subsequent run. However, the Honda is quickest of all through the speed traps, hitting 279 kilometers an hour. In fact, it's a tie between the Honda and the BMW M6, driven at the moment by Lorenzo Barra de Vega. But nonetheless, nothing wrong with the Honda NSX in a straight line. It's currently the 8th fastest car. Now, do we have anybody else completing a lap, or are the rest of the drivers going to head towards the pits as well? We're going to find out in a moment. We have got a few drivers improving, including Fabrizio Crestani. At the moment, we are watching Damiano Fioravanti, who's just improved in the first sector, but also heads towards the pits. And Crestani, I don't think improved, although he did come by the start-finish line again in the Lamborghini Huracan run by Dico Racing, but stays in 5th position. Perhaps a little bit long on the stop there by Fioravanti. And they will, of course, have to make sure that they perfect their pit stop practice in time for the race when they have to swap drivers midway through. And there is the Agostini Broicas car, currently second fastest, but the best part of half a second slower than Daniele Diamato. So they have got a lot of time to find if they're going to get in the fight for pole position here. Heading out goes Alexander Hrakwina in the Mercedes SLS AMG, run by HTB Motorsport and MS Racing, and carrying the distinctive BWT pink livery that we see on so many Mercedes-linked operations in GT racing, in junior racing, and of course on the Force India Formula One cars. But they are currently down in 26th position at the moment. So as we have a bit of a lull in the times at the moment, let's just take a quick rundown of who's quick and who is not so quick at the moment. It's Daniele Diamato at the top of the times, with Andrea Montemini in the Ferrari 488 ahead of Riccardo Agostini and Rick Broicas in the Lamborghini Huracan for Imperiale Racing. Giovanni Venturini in the Lamborghini Huracan, his teammate Jeroen Mull for Imperiale Racing. They are third. Eddie Cheever is currently in fourth place for Luzic Racing in the Ferrari 488 with teammate Nicholas Nielsen. Fifth quickest, Fabrizio Crestani, who we saw earlier on in the Lamborghini. And sixth is Toby Sowry. And I'm just pausing at the moment because we have another of the Ferraris on track. There is Dominic Schweger in number 33, and looks like he has been abusing the sausage curbs a little bit down at the Rettifilio chicane. You can take a little bit of the curb down at the Rettifilio, but you get too far on there and you hit those tall FIA specification sausage curbs that really do disturb the run of the car over the corner, as Schweger has just discovered. So anyway, once again, we have the drivers building up towards their laps at the moment. We've not got any serious attempts at improvements going on right now, but I don't think we're going to have to wait very long because we've got just over 10 minutes left in this session. And here comes Dominic Schweger looking to improve his lap time. As I say, 11th fastest so far and 5th quickest out of the Pro-Am cars. We've had a warning for one of the drivers not obeying track limits, and that is Mario Piaciuta. And the track limits violation was down at turn 4, which is the official, not the official name for the Variante della Roja, the second chicane on the lap. And there is a route that the drivers are supposed to take if they cut that particular corner. They're supposed to head on down the runoff area and then rejoin quite late on. There's a specified part of the track that they must cross over, and if they don't use that, then they are at risk of having an improved lap time deleted, or if they do it in the race, they could be ordered to, or advised to hand a position back or be at risk of a penalty. This is the Variante della Roja, which Dominic Schweger is making his way through at the moment and showing the correct route through the corner. And Schweger now heads into the quick Lesmo corners, out from underneath the trees, into the increasingly bright sunlight at Monza as conditions continue to warm up as we approach 11:30, accelerating out now from the Lesmo 2, and a long blast through this very gentle kink called a Seraglio underneath the historic oval, which has not been used for decades and is a fearsomely steep construction. If you ever get a chance to see it firsthand, it is astonishing to think the bravery the drivers must have had to tackle that course in their primitive machines so many decades ago. But we have a look at another driver passing from underneath the oval. This is Andres Lewandowski in the Lamborghini Huracan run by Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. Distinctive dark livery with yellow and blue striping. Coming down towards the Parabolica, currently down in 20th position overall, although second quickest out of the all amateur entries, behind Zdeno Mikuláško, currently in 13th position in another Lamborghini Huracans run by ARC Bratislava. And Lewandowski needing to find the best part of a second, in fact, if he's going to move ahead of his rival in the amateur class. But needs rather less to move up the grid overall. As usual, we have 3 different classes in the GT Open for Pro, Pro-Am and Am. And gradually, as this session goes on, we're starting to see all the pro drivers coalesce at the top of the times, and that includes Loris Spinelli, who has just gone second quickest with a 1:47.572, 0.379 seconds slower than Daniele Diamato, and following them and improving, we're on board with them now. Bertrand Baguette in the Honda NSX goes third quickest with a 1:47.577, just 0.05 of a second slower, and very, very close to a place on the front row, but still nobody that close to Daniele Diamato in the Ferrari, who is the best part of 0.4 of a second ahead. Now, there is Baguette passing through your screen at the front in the Honda. We ride on board through the Variante della Roja with one of the drivers following along behind the NSX. It was one of the Lamborghini Huracans that we were on board with. We have got just under 7 minutes left in this session now, and quite a few drivers posting improvements. Michael Mack is doing so right now. In fact, in the Lamborghini 488, sorry, the Ferrari 488 run by Luzic Racing, trying to move up from what is currently 12th on the grid. Venturini currently 5th fastest in the Lamborghini Huracan run by Imperiale Racing, also looking to move up as we follow the progress of Michael Mack in the Ferrari. And he's got a nice little slipstream, I think, as he comes out the Parabolica and drives towards the line. What is his lap time going to be? It's a big improvement, 1:47.552. We've now got 3 drivers on 1:47.5s, and they're led by Michael Mack in second position. And coming out of the final corner now and heading towards the lines, Jiatong Liang in the Lamborghini Huracan, down in 22nd right now. Baguette has found a 1/10 of a second to go up into second place. So the Honda NSX moves onto the front row of the grid temporarily, as Giovanni Venturini finally sets the fastest time of the session, beating Daniele Diamato onto provisional pole position by less than 0.05 of a second. But we've still got time for Diamato to respond. There is Venturini following his excellent lap in that Lamborghini Huracan. Quickest of all in the final sector, 36.420 through the very, very last part of the lap. And that's put him up onto pole position ahead of Diamato, and also improving Lorenzo de Vega in the BMW M6 for Theo Martin has gone to 3rd place, which relegates Bertrand Baguette and Michael Mack to 4th and 5th places respectively. Loris Spinelli then is 6th, and that is 6 pro cars in the top 6 places. Pro-Am pole at the moment held by Eddie Cheever on his first appearance in the category in the Ferrari 488 run by Luzic Racing. Here comes Bertrand Baguette in the Honda NSX. How much more time is he going to be able to find? Can he get back up onto the front row slot he had a few moments ago? Giovanni Venturini is continuing to improve and has gone fastest of anybody in the middle sector of the lap, so could be on course to firm up that advantage over Daniele Diamato. Diamato's on track as well, though, and was 0.05 of a second quicker than Venturini through the first sector, so it is far from over here. And Diamato continues to improve again, fractionally quicker than Venturini in the middle part of the lap. So this could all be decided in the final sector, but Diamato's got about a 1/10 of a second advantage as I make it. Driving towards the line, here comes Venturini, does improve, 1:46.785 on provisional pole by 0.4 of a second, but I think Diamato, certainly coming into the final part of the lap, had a bit more time in hand. Let's see what, if anything, he might be able to do. We're looking at Venturini. How long is he going to be on pole position for? Let's see. Diamato has gone quickest, but by only 0.05 of a second. Is very, very tight gaps here at Monza. This one really could go either way. There is Diamato, having just taken back pole position by almost the slimmest of margins in that Ferrari. So we have got a real contest on our hands here. And Diamato and teammate Andrea Montemini looking for their first pole position of the year. And at the moment, they have it in their hands, but only just. Riccardo Agostini, third quickest, ahead of Damiano Fioravanti. Fioravanti we haven't mentioned very much so far. The Ombra racing driver in the Lamborghini Huracan, currently fourth fastest. So we really do have, I think, a two-way fight for pole position on our hands here between D'Amato and Venturini in the Ferrari and the Lamborghini respectively. And then consistently lapping about 4 to 7 tenths of a second slower is a clutch of about 10 different cars. It is a very, very tight fight for third place and back. But the front row battle, I mean, it is also tight, but there only seems to be two in it at the moment, and here is one of them, D'Amato, looking superbly committed through the Ascari chicane. Chasing along behind is Riccardo Agostini, currently third fastest in the Lamborghini Huracan for Imperiale Racing. So these two drivers may also improve. D'Amato, in fact, fastest of all through the first sector, hasn't improved in the middle sector. And looks like he's backed off as he comes out of the Parabolica. Sure enough, he has, and heads towards the pits with only 2 minutes left on the clock. So that surely means no further improvement from him. But let's see if anybody else has anything for them. Agostini has also pitted. So our top three are all in the pits at the moment, with not very much time left in this session. They look pretty pleased with their efforts. I'm just wondering, it seems unlikely that they might head out in time to make a final run, and he's getting out of the car, so that puts that one beyond doubt. Giving the car some very quick attention, not staying out until the dying moments of the session, and all that is left now for D'Amato is to keep an eye on the timing screens for the last minute and make sure that no one pinches that provisional pole position. And a little bit of a mistake at the exit of Lesmo 2 for the Audi R6. And we're catching up on a few of the other incidents that we didn't get to see while we were watching that frantic battle for pole position. Lorenzo Barreo de Vega having a brief off in the BMW M6. And it is looking very much like it is going to be pole position for the RS Racing team and their Ferrari 488. We have got just half a minute left, and there are a few drivers left, but none really posting much in the way of significant improvements. In fact, the only personal best I'm really seeing on the timing screen at the moment belonged to Alan Hellmeister, and that was on his lap when he crashed and brought out the red flags earlier on. We have got a few drivers, however, finishing off some laps. And let's see if we have any changes of position. I tend to think if there's going to be, it's going to involve the lower places, because 8 of the drivers in the top 9 have all pitted at the moment. We are watching Andres Saravia coming out of the Parabolica, but he is also heading for the pits. The checkered flag is out. I don't think anybody else is improving, and they're not. And sure enough, it is pole position then for Daniele D'Amato and Andrea Montemini for the RS Racing Ferrari 488 with a lap of 1:46.780, grabbing that pole position back with their final effort by just 5 thousandths of a second. Giovanni Venturini and Jeroen Mul will share the front row of the grid for them, having missed out on pole position by such a slender margin for Imperiale Racing in their Lamborghini Huracan. Riccardo Agostini put his car into third position. He'll start there with teammate Rick Broikers for Imperiale Racing in their Lamborghini Huracan. And another Huracan alongside Ombra Racing's car, shared by Damiano Fioravanti, who set the lap time, and teammate Stefano Gattuso. So those are the top 4 on the grid. Let's take a look at the rest of the field. Teo Martin, 5th with Lorenzo de Vega with a 1:47.369. Pro-Am pole position goes to Tom Onslow Cole and Valentin Peerberg for the second race in a running for their Mercedes SLS AMG. And the Honda Racing team with their NSX, 8th quickest with a 1:47.422 for Bertrand Baguette. And welcome to the championship to the Lusic Racing car of Eddie Cheever and his teammate Nicholas Nielsen. They will begin from 9th place in their Ferrari 488. Fabrizio Crestani for Daiko Lazarus Racing, rounding out the top 10. A little bit further down the running order, Mikel Mack, surprisingly lower down the running order for him and teammate Alessandro Pierre Guidi for the Luzic Racing Run Ferrari 488. They will start from 11th position. And Andres Saravia put the Teo Martin M6 into 12th place ahead of Kang Ling and Dominic Schweger. And Alan Hellmeister, who we saw have that hit with the barriers down at Ascari, ends up 20th after not running for a substantial chunk of the session and bringing out the red flags. And Jia Tongliang, who was 19th, also had a trip through the gravel. And the remaining amateur and pro-am runners down at the bottom end of the field. And Alexander Hrachowina bringing up the back of the grid for today's race. So do join us later on for today's race for the GT Open cars. That will get underway. The rolling start is at 3:45 for the 70-minute race. So don't miss that one. Look forward to seeing you again soon. But for now, thank you and goodbye.